Tonight on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime, we will talk about two outside players that the Cowboys should be targeting in order to attempt to solve some of their biggest needs. So we will take a look at an offensive player around the NFL and a potential solution to kicker, because the Cowboys made their second round of roster cuts this Tuesday morning, and we're left wondering what will happen at kicker. So we'll talk about that on the show as well. We'll recap the 5 cuts made by Dallas today, and towards the end of the show, the One Cool Thing segment is back. So get yours ready. For those of you who are new, it's a cool segment in which we get to share good news pretty much. So get yours ready. Welcome into the show. Do me a favor, hit the like button. Share the stream. If you are watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, let your friends know about Primetime. And do me a favor, smash that like button, because every like puts this show in front of more Cowboys fans. The Cowboys back in Frisco, by the way, for the rest of training camp / preseason. So we're getting ready to close things out pretty much in the offseason. And we're getting nearer and nearer to the regular season. I'm excited about real football. We're getting real football on Saturday, by the way, because college football is back. There are not many big games out there, but, some real football. And I'm excited about that. Doesn't look like the Cowboys will play their starters, by the way, next weekend or this weekend. We'll talk about that as well, maybe. And let me shout out some people in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. We've got Gregory. What is up? Thank you for tuning in. We've got Bruce as well. 7-Eleven says, I was just watching practice live. That is amazing. Big Mo as well. We've got 2 Big Mo's today in the comments. I'm up for that. Just kidding. What is up, Chuck? Let's see. We've got Toxic Tom. We've got Charlene Evans, Jeffrey Miller. We've got Chalk. Who else? Who am I missing from tonight's comments? We've got RM. We've got 6 to Midnight. Welcome into the show, ladies and gentlemen. Now that more of us are here, let's get ready to start this show officially. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. With a lot more content coming your way throughout the entire season, check out adcsports.com/Dallas. And tonight on the show, presented to you by our friends over at FreemanMazda.net. We will talk more about them and the ride of the week in a few moments here on the show. But tonight, we will get into 2 players from around the NFL that could help out the Cowboys in 2 of the most concerning positions heading into the season. One of them, swing tackle, and another on special teams, a kicker, because tonight we will also get into the initial roster cuts. But spoiler alert, Lirim Hairulahu was released by the team. That leaves only Brett Maher on the team, and we're left wondering, is he the guy, or is the guy around the NFL just waiting to be picked up by the Dallas Cowboys? We'll get into that. But before we get into an outside player, just a quick note from today's practice in Frisco. How about Matt Waletzko being in full pads? Finally, he had this shoulder injury early in training camp out there in Oxnard. And at a time, it didn't even feel like a fact that he would come back for the 2022 season, because surgery will be required for Matt Waletzko, according to multiple reports. But he could decide to push it, and that's essentially what the team appears to have decided regarding the day 3 rookie for the Dallas Cowboys. And this is an important change-up plenty of projections of the Cowboys 53-man roster, pretty much, and including mine, by the way, from last week, pretty much assumed that Waletzko would not be ready to go. But he was out there in full pads. So maybe that's an important change up to consider when we talk about the Cowboys roster. Because, by the way, question for you guys in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat, would you be comfortable or uncomfortable with Waletzko as a swing tackle of the Dallas Cowboys in the 2022 season? How would you feel about that? The thing about Waletzko is that, and I've said this before, that philosophy of it cannot be worse usually proves to be false in football. So I don't want to say that anything will be better than Josh Ball or anyone will be better than Josh Ball, but I'm just excited about a new player at swing tackle, right? Someone that's not named Josh Ball. However, we found out the hard way that a lot of the times it can end up being worse. So I would definitely say that I would feel uncomfortable. From what I can see in the comments, that's your answer in general. 7-Eleven says I'm comfortable. Toxic Tom as well says especially with a bad shoulder. And the truth is we don't know much about Waletzko because sure, we're excited about him having a good camp in the spring, but there were no pads. And when we're talking offensive linemen, you have to have pads on before we get an idea of how you will actually look like on the playing field. So Craig says better than Vol. And listen, maybe based on what we know from Josh Ball, we can assume that is the case, but is it fair to really say that when we really don't know? Maybe that's optimism from our part, saying that he's better than Josh Ball. I get where Craig is coming from because that's exactly my point. But I would be pretty uncomfortable with Josh Ball as these teams swing tackle heading into the season. Nicolas says he's hardly practiced. And that's right. He's hardly practiced. His shoulder injury was early in camp. So with pads on, I wouldn't feel good about that situation. However, I'm excited about having him back this early. I wouldn't have imagined that he would be ready to go at this point. But let's see. Jessica Villarreal says uncomfortable. Gilbert says uncomfortable. I never heard of him, says Gilbert. We've been talking about him for a while, but he is a day 3 draft pick and he got injured. So yeah, plenty of Cowboys fans around the world have not heard about Waletzko, to be honest. Toxic Tom says, Mo, it's sad that these are our current choices for swing tackle, which leads me to the player that I would like to talk about. One particular offensive tackle that is seemingly in the trade block. A lot of people say that he isn't. There are some reporters saying that the Patriots do not want to trade offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn. However, Albert Breer from the Monday Morning Quarterback did report that the Patriots have been engaged in conversations about their 2018 first-round draft pick. And not only that, he was talking with the guys, and I'm trying to find the audio for you guys. He was talking to NBC Sports Boston when he said that the Patriots were actually starting these conversations. So here's a clip from Albert Breer that I want you to listen to, and we'll talk about Isaiah Wynn here in a few seconds. But here's what Albert Breer had to say.
Well, my understanding is the Patriots have brought his name up to other teams and not the other way around. I think it's going to be tough to find somebody who's willing to take a lump sum, $10.4 million. There aren't a lot of teams that have that much room to play with right now. And then, what sort of capital are you giving up for a guy who you don't have signed past this year? So
there you go, man. Albert Breer indicating that the Patriots are the team that's bringing the Isaiah Wynn conversation to other teams and not the other way around. So who is Isaiah Wynn? For those of you who have maybe not followed his career in the NFL, former 2018 first-round pick. He would be an upgrade as what the Cowboys have right now on the roster. Keep in mind, he is set to be a starter right now in New England, but he has a $10 million cap hit, and the Patriots do want to open up some cap space. I would say that because of this hefty cap hit, he could be, traded for only a day 3 draft pick, honestly. And he provides, and this is what I like about it. And by the way, my question from me to you guys is, do you agree or disagree that the Cowboys should target offensive tackle Isaiah Wynn? Here's what I would like about this move. You're not only getting a swing tackle, which you desperately need, and it's more important that for most teams, when you have Tyron Smith in there, who has not played a full season in a long, long time, who is already dealing with something, even if there are no real concerns about his availability for week 1, he is already dealing with something. And you get concerned about Tyron Smith's health status. But Isaiah Wynn provides depth at tackle, at offensive guard, and he's been asked to play on the left side and on the right side. So you get to a point in which you are not only getting depth for a case of, an injury for any of your 2 starters, but what if Terrence Steele doesn't work out? And I feel that we have overlooked that possibility. And I'm not saying this based on what we've seen from Terrence Steele in training camp or even what we saw from him as a starter last year. I am just going by the fair uncertainty that accompanies an undrafted free agent that hasn't played a full season yet. I think it's just fair to say or to acknowledge the scenario in which Steele doesn't pay off as the Cowboys want him to pay off. Honestly, I would be all in for a trade for Isaiah Wynn. I think you can get him for a day 3 draft pick, given his cap hit. Even if you get him for just 1 year, go for it. Because the Cowboys do not have a swing tackle right now. And as we discussed earlier on the show, it's not like you will feel better about having Waletzko in there because we don't know much about Waletzko, and neither do the Cowboys. This is not only about us feeling like we haven't heard enough about him on Cowboys Twitter. This is about the fact that Waletzko has not practiced a lot with pads on, pretty much not at all. So, yeah, I would be all in for Matt Waletzko. There's a lot of noise around the veteran offensive tackle. I don't know if the Patriots will play hardball with him in the trades, but in the conversations, because once more he is set to start for them on the right side. He's been dealing with injuries though, so there's that. Watch out. Isaiah Wynn, definitely not the perfect player. He has been dealing with injuries. He's had some problems with the negotiating side of things as well with the Patriots, so he hasn't been around for all of the offseason. But if you want him as a swing tackle, go for it. Now, some of your comments in the chat. Mo, you're reaching out of being desperate, says Gregory. But we are desperate about the Cowboys swing tackle situation. How could you not be? Agree, says Gilbert, but with a trade. Oh yeah, you would need to trade for him. Now, the draft pick compensation, I believe, wouldn't be the problem with this Cowboys front office pulling the trigger on a move like this. It would be taking the salary dump of the New England Patriots and wasting $10 million in cap space for this season. Cap space that maybe they're not set to use this year, which sucks, but still something that we know is important to this Cowboys front office. Plus, the Cowboys do have the 3rd most cap space among NFL teams this year. So don't only remember the fact that they have over $20 million in cap space. Remember that that's the 3rd highest number in the NFL, and they refuse to use it when they could. Jose Christian says Isaiah Wynn would be a good addition. Professor O says Steele is a free agent after this year too. You would have to pay an offensive tackle either way. This gives you a guy who can play left tackle better than Steele, and probably, I think that better than Steele and probably can beat out Steele for right tackle. That's the kind of player that we're talking about that we are talking about here. I agree with Professor O. Now, just a quick note, still is a free agent after this year. And I think that the Cowboys should consider, if it works out, giving him a long-term extension as soon as possible if he works out. But one important note, he is a restricted free agent because he wasn't drafted, right? So the Cowboys can pretty much lock Terrence Steele up for another year if they wish to do so in 2023. So maybe a little bit of good news there for the Cowboys' long-term outlook at offensive line. Mr. Frankie says, I say take him. We need him on either side. Let's see. After a fourth, offer a fourth, says Bruce, no higher than a third. I could live with that, honestly. You know, a third round pick, you're talking about important draft capital. And if your plan is not to get him as a starter on your offense right away, I can see why you wouldn't pay a third round pick. So I would be okay with that. And I do think you can get Isaiah Wynn for less than many would believe just because of the $10 million cap hit. Because that's why the Patriots would be willing to trade him away, potentially. I agree with Professor O. You probably could get this guy for a fifth. And I would gladly give out a fifth round pick to get a guy that can be a way better swing tackle than whatever the Cowboys have going on right now on their 80-man roster. Plus, you can get a guy that can actually step in at right tackle if Terrence Steele ends up failing. So you get some sort of insurance policy on your offensive line. And as Professor O said, you get a guy that maybe you can work with after 2022. Toxic Tom says, Mo, you are assuming that our front office can land him for a fifth. Yeah, I know. Dangerous game, Toxic Tom. But all kidding aside, I do think any NFL team could get him for something like that. And I don't think there will be this huge bidding war unless a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers that are desperate for some offensive line help, especially at guard, could overpay for Isaiah Wynn. Like if this was ADC Sports Pittsburgh, which exists, by the way, and you can check it out on the website, adcsports.com/Pittsburgh, if you ever want to read up on the Steelers. If I was a Steelers fan, I would be pounding the table to pay even a fourth rounder or third rounder to go get him because they're desperate for some offensive line help. A fifth, let's get Coop with that, to Samuel Rowe. King Element says, but man, Tyler has been looking like a beast. Oh yeah, he has. But you probably want to let Tyler Smith do his thing at left guard. Because even that plan of kicking Tyler to the outside and then letting Connor McGovern play on the inside, it cannot be ideal, right? It might work out, but it cannot be ideal in the sense that McGovern didn't look good at all last year. So you would be banking on him getting better from one year to another, which could happen, but still, big question mark. And definitely wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Plus, you don't know how Tyler Smith will do on the outside at tackle. That might be the long-term plan, but rushing it could be complicated. Even more so with the Cowboys letting him focus in at the tackle and letting him do his thing. King Element says, I would put Tyler at left tackle and put Farniok at left guard, honestly, if it came down to it. That reminds me, there was this tweet out by I think it was Todd Arker, saying that McGovern took some snaps at center with the first team today. He said, first one didn't go well. The second one was perfect. Why has this not happened earlier? So I wonder if we could get some sort of shakeup across the offensive line late in the preseason, late in training camp, maybe something to keep an eye out on. McGovern taking snaps at center with the first team, that could be interesting. I don't know if that should worry us a little bit about how this team feels about Tyler Bjadic, though. We'll see, man. It's a concerning unit, offensive line. And even though the Cowboys, for a while now, have been far, far, far away from being what they were in 2016 with one of the best lines in the NFL, or 2014, or, those golden years up front for Dallas. In the past few years, they haven't been that. But even though that is the case, I don't think we have seen an offensive line with as many question marks as these years. Not great. And it does concern us. But we'll see how it goes. Moving on, we have talked about Isaiah Wynn. There's another player that I would like from the outside to be picked up by the Cowboys maybe next week, when the rest of the NFL also makes enough cuts to get down from 80 to 53. And I'm looking at a kicker here. The Cowboys, spoiler alert, we'll get into the cuts later, but they released Lirim Hajrullahu. That leaves only Brett Maher as a kicker in Dallas. And it's not an ideal situation to be in. We have gone over the numbers. Brett Maher was pretty inconsistent. Yeah, he fared better last year with the Saints, but that also happened over an 18-attempt sample. And that's not something that you will be confident about projecting towards next year. So, one team that I'm looking at directly is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have a battle brewing at kicker as well. But it's a very different kind of battle, because they cannot decide between two promising and productive kickers. One of them is veteran Ryan Succop, who is, maybe it's too early to say, but I've asked around some people that follow the Buccaneers pretty closely. Shout out to Evan Winter from ADC Sports. And I asked him, who do you think ends up being the odd man out? He said, you know what, it's tough, but I'm kind of leaning towards maybe Borregales winning the job, because Ryan Succop is fighting Jose Borregales for this one. So there's a battle going on in there. Ryan Succop has gone, over the last 2 years, he's gotten an 89% field goal rate. From 40 to 49 yards, he's been 14 for 19. And he's been nailing deep kicks in practice for Tampa Bay. And that's maybe what's made his battle with Jose Borregales more, closer than many would have expected it to be. Because Borregales is a second-year player in the NFL. He spent the 2021 season on the Bucs practice squad. He was a perfect 3-for-3 for extra points versus Miami in the preseason. He nailed a 55-yarder to take the lead late in the fourth quarter. So one of these two will be out of Tampa Bay next week. Give me the loser of that battle. And, maybe people will not be in love with the idea of bringing in somebody that lost his battle in his respective team. But Ryan would probably be better than Brett Maher. And I would feel significantly better about where the Cowboys are at in such an important position. My question for me to you guys is, right now, yes or no, is the Cowboys week 1 kicker already on the roster? Let me know what your take is on that. Do you think Brett Maher is the kicker of the Cowboys in week 1, or do the Cowboys bring somebody from the outside and end up solving one of the biggest needs for Dallas? Let me know what your take is on this in the comments. While you do that, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net, because the ride of the week is the new CX-5 Grand Touring. This one has an all-wheel drive feature. It's perfect for families, as it's got third row seating, adaptive cruise control, taking care of you, Wi-Fi hotspot, which is an insane feature, sunroof, and a miles per gallon capacity of 20 in the city. That goes up to 26 in the highway. Make sure you check out the interiors of the CX-5 Grand Touring on the website. So you need to go to freemanmazda.net. They have all these pictures for you to get the perfect idea of what the vehicle is like and enjoy their perfect service. This has been a family-owned business for a long time. So when you pick Freeman Mazda, you're choosing a lifelong partnership with your car dealer. So make sure you check that out on freemanmazda.net and check out the ride of the week, the CX-5 Grand Touring. Let's see some of your comments. Is the Cowboys kicker for week 1 already on the roster? Let's see. Amanda Brown says no. Gregory says no. Toxic Tom says yes, they love Maher. Mark Andrews says no. John Jones, no. Gilbert, no. So a lot of confidence. A lot of confidence in the comments that the Cowboys will end up getting somebody else. Mickey Cox says, yeah, they're going to go with Maher. They always play it safe. Here's what I struggle with. Because I've seen this before. And Mickey, you know what? You might have a point. Toxic Tom might also have a point in the fact that they could, quote unquote, love Brett. But I don't know. I think about it. And what exactly is safe about going with Brett Maher? Why is that seen as playing it safe for the Dallas Cowboys? Doesn't make sense to me. The guy failed with Dallas when he was here. He literally failed. One of the seasons he didn't even make it to 70%, right? And I've got the numbers right here. He kicked 81% in 2018. That went down 67% in 2019. And that year, he went 5 for 13 in attempts over 40 yards. 5 for 13. And I've said this before. He kicked 89% last season, as 7-Eleven is pointing out here. He kicked over 80%. Actually, that was 89, so almost 90. But that was an 18-attempt season for Brett. He joined the Saints late in the year. I don't know how much weight you can put into 18 attempts, because I need a bigger sample size, honestly. I need a bigger body of work for a position that has a lot to do with your long-term confidence. Because we've heard about this before. Kicker is a confidence position, and there will be some hot streaks, there will be some cold streaks, which is pretty much the same reason why I don't get the obsession over Kai Forbath. As I've said before, the guy kicked 10 attempts for Dallas when he was with the Cowboys. So that works both ways, maybe for me. Darnell says yes, he is. Nicholas also says yes. Unfortunately, 6 to Midnight says, Mo, you live in Mexico. You're surrounded by kickers in the soccer HQ. Can you give us a leg up on the competition? Please excuse the pun. 6 to Midnight, I wish I could, man. Mr. Frankie says we should have kept Cooper. He would have taken a pay cut, says Mr. Frankie. So maybe some mixed answers from you guys in the comments. Gigi went with yep, he's already on the team. Who else gave us an answer? Samuel Rowan just said this is Maher's lander. Toxic Tom says, look at Mo with that due diligence. Always, Toxic Tom. The thing is doing something with the due diligence, and that's maybe the Cowboys do their due diligence as they always tell us. It's another thing that they don't do anything with it. Yeah, man. I am leaning towards saying no. I am leaning towards the Cowboys surprising us and actually getting somebody else for week 1. I don't know how they would feel comfortable about Brett, honestly. I don't know how they can go into week 1 like that. Now, Professor O says, I have no plans to kick a field goal anyways. Just go for it. LOL. But, man, even if the Cowboys had no kicker, I could see them not going for it and maybe just trying a random position player to go out there and kick the field goal, right? I would be all for going for it all of the time. Sign me up. But then we'll get into that game-winning situation in which you do want to kick the field goal, and then we'll suffer. And then we'll regret every single one of our analytics jokes But anyways, Lirim Hajrullahu was not the only roster cut from the Cowboys this Tuesday. They also waived defensive back Quandre Mosley, linebacker Christian Sam, who was arriving from the USFL. So they pretty much go with a 500 batting average among their USFL pickups because Kavontae Turpin definitely looking good after scoring those 2 touchdowns. Wide receiver Jaquari Robertson, undrafted free agent, and then tight end Jeremy Sprinkle has been designated to injured reserve. And as such, he cannot come back anymore during the season because he was added to injured reserve before the season starts. So that's what it probably means. Anyways, the Cowboys are at 80-man roster right now. 81 if you count Isaac Alarcon, who doesn't count towards the player limit because of his roster exemption, which is applicable to the offseason roster and practice squad. However, not to the 53-man roster, as we have explained previously on Primetime. These are the roster cuts. No surprises there, maybe. Keep in mind that this is not only about who are the worst players or who are the better players. This is also about having enough offensive linemen or having enough defensive linemen, linebackers, blah, 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 for game 3 of the preseason, which is this weekend versus the Seattle Seahawks. The Cowboys did say their plan is to get their starters enough reps in padded practices this week and maybe stick to the plan of playing backups in the preseason. So it doesn't sound like we're going to see Dak Prescott in game 3. It doesn't sound like we're going to see Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, CeeDee Lamb, all of those guys, Micah Parsons, even though I bet they would like to be out there. 6 to Midnight says, talking about Lirim here, he was a disgrace to the number 9. That is Romo's number. Where is the respect? 6 to Midnight, when the Cowboys gave number 9 to Jalen Smith, right? When they gave Jalen Smith number 9, we talked about it on Primetime. And my take was, it surprises me that they're going to give it to him, but Jalen Smith has a very solid reason to be number 9. He shared his story about his former teammate when he was with the Fighting Irish in Notre Dame. It meant something. And I was okay with not retiring number 9 because even though the Cowboys did not retire numbers, in practice, they kind of do for some of them. I was okay with, Jalen getting number 9. But I will admit that it did seem a little bit disrespectful to give Lirim Hajrullahu number 9. Like, that was kind of weird. But it happens when you get so many cornerbacks and so many players in the single-digit area, in which you get Kelvin Joseph is number 1. You have Jordan Lewis wearing number 2, Anthony Brown with number 3. So maybe it made sense because of that. But yeah, I was a little bit, I did raise an eyebrow when I saw that Hajrullahu was wearing number 9. It did feel weird. Betsy says, really strenuous practice tonight. Tolbert had numerous catches. Resting Tyler Smith, guess 100 snaps earns it. Yeah, Tyler Smith didn't practice today, and people have been saying that Jalen Tolbert had a strong practice. Let's see. Let's see. What's going on in the YouTube chat? Did I miss something, though? I probably did, though. Let's see some of your comments. We've got Holly saying Tony Romo didn't do anything to warrant a number retirement. And I will agree with that. I'm not saying that Romo's number should be retired. I'm just saying it was weird for them to give it to Lirim Hajrullahu. They better give Turpin number 23, says Professor O. Is that a tribute to Devin Hester, Professor O? Turpin in 23 is a no-brainer, says King Element. Sign me up for that. Jaybird says, hey, Mo, would you be comfortable drafting a kicker mid-draft next year? Yeah, I would be. I think starting in the 5th round, I'm comfortable drafting a kicker. It better pay off, though. But yeah, I would be. And I actually talked about this during draft season in April about how the Cowboys probably could have done it. And I think the front office actually admitted to being close to doing so in after the draft. Samuel Rose says the only time I used thick in reference to football players is when Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion did a Chargers promo. Oh my God. Sometimes you start reading some of these comments and you don't know where they will take you. I guess I blocked Jalen Smith from my memory since 6 to midnight. Do you remember? I remember it perfectly when they released him, and we were like, "Oh snap!" That was probably one of the most watched primetime shows ever. Anyways, do me a favor, hit the like button and share the stream. Before we get out of here, we do have the One Cool Thing segment of the week. So if you're new here, if you're new to primetime, we're live every Sunday through Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central. And every Tuesday, we have the One Cool Thing segment of the week. And this is where you get to share and I get to share anything that's your One Cool Thing of the week. It can be something personal, professional, sports related, non-sports related. Let me know. We haven't done this in about 2 weeks now. What's your one cool thing of the week? Let me know in the comments. I will tell you mine. There's this big sports event in my hometown this weekend on Thursday, actually. Thursday night, we've got a World Cup qualifying game for basketball. So that's the Federal International Basketball the association, and I'm excited about it because representing Mexico's national team will get NBA player Juan Toscano Anderson, champion with the Golden State Warriors, currently an LA Laker. So I'm excited about him being here tomorrow. There will be a press conference. Your primetime host will likely be there as a translator if it is needed. So yeah, I'm excited about that because that's a big event for my hometown. And who doesn't like to watch high quality basketball like that? By the way, I'm not trying to brag here, but Mexico did beat the United States about 2 months ago in July. I'm just saying we beat y'all. You know it's all love, but let me brag about my national team. Let's see your one cool thing of the week. Professor O says, I got a new office at work. That's like 2.5 times the size of my old one. Hey, shout out to Professor O. Big round of applause. He definitely probably earned it. We don't know if he earned it. We don't know if he, kind of procrastinates watching Cowboys videos all day at work. One could theorize that he does, but we will assume that he earned it. So congratulations to Professor O. 7-Eleven says it's not 100 degrees all week. Let's see. My girlfriend, Maricela, is staying the night tonight. Shout out to Stephen White. Rented a boat with a bunch of friends and we'll be on vacation from Friday to Sunday, says Toxic Tom. You won't watch the Cowboys game, Toxic Tom. Oh, I'm kidding. Shout out to Toxic Tom. Let's see. I just found out to 6 to midnight. This is a big one. I just found out I'm going to have a little Cowboy fan in 9 months. There you go, 6 to midnight. Let's see. My Dodgers are number 1 in the league, says Gregory. Gigi says, seeing Dax pass that's improvement and the best thing that I've seen all week. That's definitely valid. Just got 2 new tattoos yesterday, says Mickey Cox. There you go. Am I missing a one cool thing here? Bruce says my daughter's birthday and NFL kickoff are both almost here. My mom actually turns, she has her birthday near the kickoff every single year because her birthday is the 10th of September. So I know that feeling. Let's see. Betsy paid off her car today, 6 years over and done. Oh, man, maybe I'm going to miss. Hey, you guys brought it tonight. I'm going to add a one cool thing. You guys are killing it in the chat. We got a lot of one cool things tonight, and I love that. Recently made a really good salmon dealer. It's pretty cool, says Jay Burt. There you go. Hey, man, and we got some big ones as well. Amanda Brown, almost done with my medical assistant course, and I am killing it with a 95. There you go, Amanda. There you go. All right. Maybe I missed some one cool things. I'm sorry if I did. But we do this every week, so make sure you tune in next Tuesday for more of this. Thank you for tuning in to Prime Time. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share the stream. Every like puts this show in front of more Cowboys fans. That's how the algorithm works. I'm not an expert about it, but it does work that way. So if you enjoyed this Cowboys show, do me a favor and take 1 second to hit that button. And I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central, as we do every Sunday through Thursday night. And we will talk some Cowboys football. Thank you guys for tuning in. Getting closer and closer to the regular season. Right now, the comments are pretty wholesome in the YouTube chat and the Facebook chat. That's why we invented this segment. Anyways, see you guys tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday night. No Better Call Saul episodes now. Tuesday was the day that I watched it with my dad. Not anymore, because we don't have Better Call Saul anymore. So that's an uncool thing, maybe. Sorry to end it in a sad note. There you go.